listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me, non-judgmental talk about infidelity with Dr. Marie Murphy. If you're looking for new perspectives on complicated relationship issues, you've come to the right place.
Days go by, they're crawling by.
Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Marie Murphy. I'm a relationship coach, and I help people who are engaging in all forms of infidelity to deal with their feelings, clarify what they want, and make decisions about what they're going to do. No shame, no blame, no judgments. If you're in the midst of an infidelity situation and you would like my help working through it, you can schedule an introductory coaching session with me through my website, mariemurphyphd.com. All right. Today we are going to talk about breakups. A lot of people who are pretty sure they want to end a relationship start to get freaked out when they think about actually breaking up with their partner. Or they begin to think about actually having the conversation that starts with those 4 awful words, we need to talk. For a lot of us, the idea of telling someone we care very much about something that we think they aren't going to want to hear is terrifying. And why wouldn't it be terrifying? We don't get any training in how to do this kind of thing. Did anyone ever sit you down and tell you how to break up with someone? My guess is no. Have you had the chance to practice breaking up with people outside of the context of actually ending a relationship? Probably not. How many breakups have you initiated and gained experience from? Maybe a few, maybe more than a few, but maybe not so many, or maybe not even one. Have you ever in your life had to do anything remotely similar to breaking up with someone? Maybe you have. For instance, maybe you've had to fire an employee. And I think there are some important parallels between firing employees and breaking up with a romantic or sexual partner. But this is only helpful if you've ever fired anyone. And many of us have not ever had to do that. So a lot of us have no idea how to approach a breakup. And as a result, a fear of actually doing that, a fear of actually having the conversation or initiating the end of a relationship sometimes keeps people from being able to think straight about whether they want to end the relationship at all. So if that's you, it may be, to be more clear, if you are trying to figure out whether or not you want to end your relationship, and when you get to the point of thinking about a potential breakup and that leads to mental chaos or total freakouts, it may be helpful for you to start to think more specifically about what a breakup would look like before you attempt to make a clear decision about whether or not you want to leave your relationship. Doing this may provide useful perspective, perhaps by showing you that although breaking up may be hard, it doesn't have to be impossible. It is something you can approach thoughtfully. It is something you can be reasonably prepared for. Yes, the experience may be challenging in some ways. It may be painful in some ways, but it doesn't have to be an epic train wreck. Now, on the other side of that, I do recommend being as sure as you can be that you want to end a relationship before you attempt to actually take action and begin the process of breaking up with someone. And that might sound really obvious, but so often people head into breakups because they think that ending a relationship will fix a problem of some sort, but they don't actually want to end the relationship. Here's what that looks like sometimes. Someone will be involved with 2 people, and they'll really want to simplify their situation by ending one of the relationships or even both of the relationships. And this may seem really logical because you may really want simplicity. And there's nothing wrong with wanting simplicity. Simplicity can be amazing. Simplicity can be great. However, we sometimes try to get to simplicity by taking action before we have our thoughts in order. And what that translates into at times is trying to break up with someone without being sure you want to end the relationship. And when we do that, when we are trying to break up with someone and we're either not sure if we really want to do it or not, or we aren't sure why we want to do it, It's really hard to figure out what we want to say and how we want to actually execute the breakup. And then when it comes time to do it, when it comes time to take the action or execute our plan, things get really messy really quickly. Maybe you can't even get your words out. Or maybe your partner starts crying the second you say, we need to talk. And then you feel so bad that you end up promising them that you'll stay with them forever. Or maybe you tell your person you are deeply sorry, but you've decided you need to leave the relationship and they beg you to reconsider and you tell them that you will. Even though an hour earlier, you were sure that you didn't want to do that at all. Or reasonably sure. Maybe you weren't sure. Maybe that's the whole problem. Maybe you deliver your news and your person agrees that it's for the best for you to do what you need to do. But then after you have the conversation, nothing happens. Maybe nobody moves out if the two of you are living together. Maybe you don't stop communicating like you said you were going to. Maybe nobody acts like anything at all has changed. Essentially, the breakup doesn't really take or doesn't really happen. And you wonder why it didn't work out the way you thought it was going to. I will tell you that in order for you to be successful in an effort to break up with someone or to leave a relationship, or even to ask for meaningful time out of a relationship or ask for a separation, you will need to be prepared. In today's episode, we're going to talk about all of the things I recommend you prepare before you even think about taking action, before you even consider attempting to have the conversation. Next time, though, in the next episode of the podcast, we will talk about having the conversation. We'll talk about initiating the breakup process. We'll talk about how you can figure out what you want to say and how you want to say it and when you want to say it, but we're not there yet. Today, we're going to prepare for that stage. Here are the 8 things I urge you to consider if you're thinking of breaking up with someone. Point number 1, get really clear on whether or not you want to end the relationship. As I've already alluded to, getting really clear on whether or not you want to end a relationship before you try to break up with someone is critical. And I must underscore that although this may sound ridiculously obvious, so often we try to break up with people without being as sure as we can be that we want to leave the relationship or end the relationship. So, do you want to end the relationship? This may seem like a ridiculously easy This may seem like a ridiculously easy question to answer. And if it is, that's great. But it may also seem like an impossible question to answer. The good news and the bad news is, even if it seems like an easy decision, it may still be a sad experience to go through with the breakup itself and to transition out of the relationship. And even if it seems like an impossible decision, it actually is possible for you to make a choice. The unglamorous secret to making impossible decisions is recognizing that we really do have a choice about everything. And there's no such thing as a right choice or a wrong choice. There's only the choice we make and what we make of it. That said, sometimes it can be incredibly beneficial to have someone guide us through a decision-making process so that we can get out of our own way a little more efficiently and effectively and start to see where we're keeping ourselves stuck. So if you've been kind of going around and around in circles about whether you want to stay in your relationship or not, it might be time to give Dr. Murphy a buzz. I can help you make decisions about your relationship or your relationships. And, these will be your decisions. Make no mistake. I'm not going to tell you what you should do or what you have to do or what's better or worse for you. I'm going to help you make a choice you feel great about and help you tolerate the discomfort that will pretty much inevitably come with any choice you make. Anyway, with or without my help or anyone else's, your first order of business is to make a clear decision about the relationship. Point number 2 is closely related to the first point. I urge you to get clear on why you want to break up with someone before you attempt to do so. Getting clear on this is important for a lot of reasons. For one thing, clarifying your reasons why you want to break up with someone can help you figure out whether it's something you definitely want to do or not. Sometimes we have incredibly vague reasons for wanting to end a relationship. We get this idea that it's what we need to do or what we should do. And then we get really stuck on that idea. And ending the relationship may start to seem like the answer to all of our problems. One of the sneaky things we tell ourselves is, oh, it's the right thing to do to end this relationship. But what exactly does that mean? We need to dig deeper than that. We need to get clear on the specific reasons why we want to end a relationship. And then we need to feel good about those reasons if we want to have any hope of successfully executing a breakup. Because here's the deal: you may love and care for the person you're considering breaking up with. You may not be dying to get away from them. You may still enjoy a lot of things about your connection with them or the life you share with them. Or maybe you don't have a life with the person you're planning to break up with exactly, but you really like them or you're really attracted to them. And this stuff needs to be taken seriously too. It may make sense for you to relinquish the things you appreciate about your person or about your relationship in the service of something else. But in order to let the good things go, you're going to need to have a clear reason for doing that you like. Telling yourself, oh, it's the right thing to do to end this relationship may not cut it. It just may not be specific enough. And moreover, what is the right thing to do? So, yeah, get clear on that stuff. Also, it's also important to be clear on this stuff because depending on the nature of your relationship, your breakup may be a process that takes time. If you're breaking up with someone you have a secret relationship with, or someone you don't live with, or someone you've only been involved with for a short amount of time, it might be possible to make a decisive break with one conversation. But if you're living with someone or you're married to someone and you're deeply involved in each other's lives, the breakup may start with a single conversation, but it will probably have many stages to it and take a while to play out. And throughout this span of time, your partner may question what you're doing, and you yourself may question what you're doing, and you may doubt your own resolve at times, right? You may question, like, why did I want to break up with him? And that's okay. That's not a problematic thing in and of itself. And of course, it's also ultimately okay to just definitively change your mind and decide you don't want to break up. But the bigger point here is that it's quite likely you'll question what you really want at times. And that's why you've got to have a clear set of reasons that you like for why you want to end the relationship. If you don't really know why you want to end it, it's quite possible that you could lose your way throughout the breakup process. It's quite possible that you could revert to the comfort of the status quo when things get challenging, as they very well might. And this brings us to point number 3. Ending a relationship can involve a lot of intense emotions, some of which are likely to be painful or otherwise uncomfortable. And this is true even if you are sure that ending the relationship is what you want to do. Because how could it be any other way? Saying goodbye to or changing our relationship with someone we care about is likely to be profoundly sad in some ways, even if we know that continuing a romantic partnership with them isn't something we want to do. Leaving a relationship that has been a big part of our lives for a long time can be incredibly painful or disorienting or downright strange, even if there are a lot of things we have grown to dislike about the relationship, even if we truly believe that we will be better off outside of the relationship than we are within it. Ending a relationship with someone we're really attracted to can be really hard, even if we haven't been together for a long time. And even if we're sure that sticking with this relationship isn't going to be in our best interests. Put differently, we are going to have a lot of different thoughts and feelings about ending a relationship most of the time. And this doesn't have to be a problem. Many experiences in life are both sad and freeing, or discombobulating and self-affirming, or scary and relieving. Having mixed feelings about breaking up with someone or leaving a relationship isn't a sign that you need to second guess your decision. You do want to make sure you've made a decision for reasons that you like, of course, but we've already talked about that. The point now is that even after you make a decision that you're confident is right for you, this will not relieve you of having any uncomfortable feelings related to ending the relationship. It is wise to be prepared for this and to know that feelings like sadness are usually a big part of big life changes, even if those changes are changes we really want to make. When we think our sadness is a sign that we shouldn't go through with ending a relationship, we may backtrack on our decision to end it, especially if our reasons for wanting to leave the relationship aren't. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you've probably heard me say this before, but it bears repeating. Uncomfortable feelings or so-called negative emotions are a totally normal part of life. Isn't it reasonable to feel sad or discombobulated or strange when a relationship we valued comes to an end, even if we are also looking forward to a future outside of the relationship? Isn't it reasonable to feel a bit of longing if we break up with someone we're really attracted to in some ways, but not at all attracted to in other ways? Sometimes we think we want to avoid uncomfortable feelings, but upon closer examination, we may see that uncomfortable feelings are part of what gives life richness and intrigue. And when we accept intellectually that uncomfortable feelings are an okay part of life, we can also decide a little more easily that we are willing to actually feel those feelings. Saying we're going to do this and actually doing it are two different things, of course. And most of us have not really learned how to feel our feelings or to tolerate discomfort, but we can all build our capacity to do those things. And I can help you do that if we work together. But you can also start experimenting with that today on your own by being on the lookout for your own experiences of discomfort and practicing being willing to stay with those feelings when they come up and being really present with them and curious about them instead of avoiding them or resisting them or trying to distract yourself from them. Your new mantra might be, discomfort is a normal human thing and it's a thing I can handle. Point number 4. In addition to being prepared for discomfort of your own, prepare yourself to witness the discomfort of whoever you are breaking up with. If your person doesn't want their relationship with you to end, they may feel sad, mad, hurt, surprised, or any number of other things when you tell them you don't want to continue your relationship with them. And they may tell you this. They may tell you this very emphatically, perhaps over and over again. And this may be very uncomfortable for you to experience. They may scream and cry and beg and plead. They might call you names. They might try to convince you of the error of your ways. However, even if things get uncomfortable for them and for you, that doesn't mean anything has gone wrong. Emotional discomfort is a natural, normal, inevitable part of the human experience. It isn't your job to prevent your partner or the person you're breaking up with from ever experiencing uncomfortable feelings. And it isn't your job to ensure that you are never the occasion of anyone else's pain. To attempt to do that would require you to limit yourself in ways that might be detrimental to you and to your person. To attempt to do that might require you to be dishonest about things that really matter to your relationship, such as your interest in being a part of it. Sometimes the only choice we have in life is between effectively lying about our feelings or not sharing information about what's true for us and doing something that another person feels hurt by. But which option is more hurtful in the long run? Telling them the truth or not telling them the truth, right? Consider that both for you and for the person you may be breaking up with, there could be far worse things than short-term discomfort. Now, we'll talk more about this in the next episode when I provide some guidance on how to actually plan the breakup conversation that you may be anticipating having with your partner. But for now, let me just say that I believe it is possible to be direct with the person you're breaking up with and honest about what you want regarding your relationship or the end thereof, and to be compassionate towards them and considerate of them. For now, Start to consider the possibility that telling your person you don't want to be involved with them in the way they want to be involved with you may be a profoundly respectful thing to do, even if you anticipate their initial response to your news isn't going to be enthusiastic. Point number 5 is about time and timing. Part of preparing for a breakup is recognizing that it is something that you are actually going to do in real life, perhaps in the not too distant future. At some point, it will no longer be a hypothetical, it will be an actual. And when some people start to think about this, they get stuck and stay stuck. When they think about actually breaking up with their partner or imagining themselves saying the breakup words and taking all of the actions and dealing with all of the feelings, some people decide that they need more time to think the whole thing through. And here's the deal. I'm in favor of that to a point. I absolutely think it's important to make a clear decision about whether you want to break up with someone and why you want to do so. And I understand that can take some serious consideration. And I'm all in favor of you taking some time to collect your thoughts and decide what you want to say before you take action. However, there is a difference between taking time to do these things and stalling. Assuming that you have already made a decision about wanting to leave your relationship, and assuming you like your reasons for this choice, there may not be a whole lot more you actually need to think about. Thus, we may turn thinking about the timing of a breakup into a stalling tactic of its own. When we think about actually executing a breakup, we may think, oh God, this timing won't work and that timing won't work and I can't do it next month or the month after that or the year after that. Here's the deal. There may be better and worse times for a breakup, but there is never a perfect time. There are always reasons you could find to postpone a breakup. So if you are worried about the timing of your breakup, and if you suspect that this might be turning into a stalling tactic, and I can tell you that if you're at all concerned about this, and it probably is turning into a stalling tactic, I want you to ask yourself a question you probably haven't considered yet, which is this. How much longer do you want this situation in your life to last? How much longer do you want to spend contemplating a breakup or planning a breakup or putting off a breakup? How much longer do you want to wait before you embark upon the next chapter of your life? How much longer do you want to stay in the energy of waiting or hesitating or holding back? That wasn't one question, of course. That was multiple questions. Ask yourself those questions. And you get to decide what the answers are. You could wait forever if you chose to. That's okay. It's your prerogative to take as much time as you choose. But I urge you to choose consciously and to know as you make your conscious choice that there may not be such a thing as a perfect time for a breakup. And that looking for one is one way to avoid making a conscious decision and following through on it. With that said, though, we will talk more about timing in the next episode when we discuss planning the conversation. The point for now is beware of time. Beware of the tendency to put things off. Point number 6 is closely related to the point about time. It's about recognizing that there may never be perfect conditions for a breakup. Sometimes people hope that if they wait for certain things to happen, they'll create the best possible scenario or the best possible conditions for a breakup. A lot of folks I talk to really want their partner to be okay if they break up with them. And they're afraid that their partner might not be okay after a breakup unless certain things are in place. Maybe the partner is about to finish law school, or is in the midst of a job search, or is going through treatment for a medical condition, or is tending to an ailing parent who is on the brink of death, or something like that. And I think there are definitely times when it makes sense to hold off on delivering news that you're pretty sure will have a major impact on someone's life. However, There's a difference between doing that. There's a difference between, waiting for your partner to take the bar, or waiting for a loved one to die, or waiting for someone to recover from an illness, and waiting for other things to come about. Sometimes people are waiting for an indication that the breakup will be as easy as possible on their partner, or they're waiting for their partner to get to a state of agreement that ending the relationship is a good idea. Sometimes people wait for their partner to break up with them, or they're hoping for a completely amicable, that's a hard word to say, amicable breakup. And they're waiting for signs that their partner may be capable of that, or more capable of that than they currently seem to be. Now, here's the deal. It is totally reasonable to want all of these things. Completely reasonable. But you may not get them. The breakup may not be easy on your partner. Then again, it might actually be easier on them than you think it will be. But moreover, it might not be your job now or ever to make sure that it's easy on them. And you might get an amicable. I don't say that word that often, do I? Amicable. You might get an amicable breakup, but then again, you might not. But even if you can't control how your partner handles the breakup, you always get to take control over how you participate in the situation and how you engage with them. I'm going to say that word again, just for practice. I usually write that word out, but I don't say it out loud that often. Isn't that interesting? So in other words, your behavior can be amicable towards them, even if their behavior is not amicable towards you. Okay, my pronunciation practice is over. Thank you for bearing with me. And finally, on this note, your partner may never agree that breaking up is a good idea. They may want to stay with you forever. And theoretically, they could continue to want that forever, even after you separate or split up. And the question for you is, are you going to wait for them to change your minds? Are you going to wait for your partner to be ready to behave differently? Are you going to wait for the conditions that you think would be ideal to arise before you do what you need to do? You could. You could wait. We can always wait. But at what cost? Point number 7. There are 3 kinds of business in life. What is yours in your current situation? You've probably heard me talk about the 3 kinds of business before on the podcast. This idea, as far as I know, comes from Byron Katie, who says that there are 3 kinds of business. There's your business, there's their business, and there's God's business, or the cosmic business, or the universe's business, or whatever. The point is that there are some things that only you can take care of. There are some things that only other people can do for themselves, that other people can only do for themselves. And there are some things that may be beyond your reach and beyond my reach and beyond everybody else's reach. We often spend a lot of time and energy trying to do business that isn't really ours to do, business that we can't actually do. And in the process, we almost invariably end up neglecting the business that only we can attend to, that we alone are able to do. For instance, only you can decide what's truly right for you. Only you can take action that's aligned with your deepest desires and highest priorities. Only we can deal with our own feelings. And that's true for everybody else, of course. So if you've been attempting to manage other people's feelings instead of getting honest with yourself and taking action accordingly, you may be all up in someone else's business and totally not doing your own. What if your business is telling your partner the truth about where you stand in relation to your relationship? What if your business is to tell your partner as considerately as possible, but as clearly as possible, that you want to leave your relationship if that is what you want? And what if their feelings about that and their response to whatever you say is their business? You're going to have plenty of your own business to attend to, but before, during, and after your breakup. What if focusing on that stuff was your job? And what if you could trust that when we all attend to our own business rather than trying to do anyone else's, everyone ends up better off? It may not look like it immediately, but what if we could trust that in the cosmic scheme of things, it really is better for everyone if we attend to our own business and let everybody else do theirs. Last but not least, point number 8. As you prepare for a possible breakup, I encourage you to abandon the idea that this is something you need to do right or need to do well or need to do perfectly. Yes, you may want to do the best you can, and that's wonderful. That's obviously why I've prepared this podcast episode so that you may navigate this process without fear, without excessive suffering, and with some sense of what you want to do intentionally within the course of your breakup process. But even with this guidance, this may be something you've never done before, and it may be something you end up doing very imperfectly. And what if you could anticipate that and trust that it's okay? What if it isn't your job to do this perfectly? What if there's no such thing as perfect in a situation like this? Perhaps most importantly, what if you could release the idea that you have to be perfect in order to be a human who is worthy of love and belonging and respect? So, to summarize, before you attempt to figure out how you're going to break up with someone or what you're going to say, you first need to get your mind in order. You need to decide if you want to leave your relationship, and you need to get clear on why you want to do so. By the way, during these critical steps, you may realize you don't actually want to leave your relationship. And if that becomes clear to you, that's great. And that's exactly why you need to take these steps before you sit down and attempt to tell your person that you want to leave them forever, right? Once you're clear on having a desire to leave your relationship and your reasons for wanting that, you need to get ready to experience some discomfort, your own and your partner's. Although it is possible that your breakup could be far easier than you're anticipating, it also could end up being pretty emotional. And when you anticipate that, you may find yourself looking for stalling tactics, such as looking for the ideal time of the breakup or the least bad time for it. Knowing that there is no such thing as a perfect time, and knowing that there will be costs to delaying a breakup indefinitely is important as you approach this in your mind. Also, keep in mind that the idealized conditions for your breakup that you may be imagining or wishing for may never exist. Your partner may never, ever want to break up. They may not even understand why you want to break up. And waiting for their understanding or agreement may keep you waiting for a really long time. So I encourage you to focus on your own business. What is it your job to do in this situation? And what is it not your job to do? Finally, remember that whatever you do or don't do as you execute a breakup, it may not be perfect. Most of us don't have much practice breaking up with people. It may not be something we can do well, whatever doing a breakup well may mean. Going into a breakup knowing all of this and letting yourself off of the perfectionism hook may relieve you of a lot of unnecessary suffering, right? It may be a sad process. It may be challenging in many ways, but although pain is an inevitable part of human existence, suffering is optional. We can reduce our suffering. All right, everyone. Next time, we'll talk about planning the actual breakup conversation or the initial breakup conversation. And some breakups only require one conversation, one to the point talk, but others are lengthier processes. We'll talk about all of this next time. If you are in the process of contemplating a breakup and you would like help moving through it and deciding what you want to do and what you're going to do about it, let's talk. You can schedule an introductory coaching session with me through my website, mariemurphyphd.com. Breaking up may be hard, but it doesn't have to be terrible. Together, we can take a close look at the specifics of your unique situation and make the process more manageable for you. All right. As always, I thank you all so much for listening. If you have enjoyed what you've heard, I hope you will head on over to iTunes to rate and review the show. Have a wonderful week. And until next time, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me with Dr. Marie Murphy. Make sure to click subscribe to get updates on our latest episodes.